Welcome to a very special edition of Crawford County Outdoors. I'm Dwayne Kohler, and we are coming to you today from Hartstown, Pennsylvania. A special veterans hunt is scheduled today, and I can't wait to talk to some of the veterans who are going to come and participate here today. Some of the folks who organized, and a great event, going to get Crash and get them out there and get some work in. And I can't think of a better way to recognize veterans. Been wanting for a very, very long time on the outdoor show here to be able to do something with veterans. So we finally got that rolling today. So I'm looking forward to it. Stay with us. Well, let me ask you to identify yourself here.
I'm Corey Sly. I'm just a random guy, I guess.
Oh, well, I wouldn't say that. You called me a while ago, and from the second you called me, I have been so looking forward to this event. Talk about the whole thing, how it got off the ground.
Well, it started when I was in contact with the organization called Freedom Hunters. Their mission is to match veterans with opportunities to hunt and fish, and I called them, and they were willing to help finance this whole thing to help pay for the birds and the catered lunch. And then the next person I called was Dr. Osborne. I knew he had the property with the special permit, so he didn't hesitate to say yes and let us use his property. So and then the ball just started rolling from there. I talked to Ed Moss at Pheasants Forever, and he didn't hesitate to say yes to help us out with the dogs and helping out. And then Ryan, the other landowner here, has been, I could not have done it without him. He did most of all I did was make a couple phone calls. He's the one that really got the people to help and got all the donations, and the local companies or local businesses have donated shell or ammo and clay pigeons and everything, so we were able to shoot some trap beforehand and then go out for the hunt.
Now let me ask you a personal question. What motivated you to get this thing off the ground and going?
Well, I'm not a veteran. I never served in the armed forces, but my brother-in-law, he just got out of the Marine Corps, and he was in it for 12 years, I think. And I saw the sacrifices that he made. He was overseas while his daughter was, just barely born, and he missed a lot of time that way. And I know what he went through with training and his OCS. So I know what he put into it, and all the Christmases he missed. So I thought this was just a way to give back.
So talk about the event today. When I first heard about it, I thought we were just going to have chukars, but it turned out there was loads of pheasants in addition to that.
Right, yes. I was only able to find chukar to get for the event, but Dr. Osborne was able to find some pheasants that he bought himself, that he donated, and then we actually had a hunter today that raised his own pheasants, and he donated some pheasants as well.
Talk about the facility for a second. This is an awesome place. It was a great place to hunt birds here. Sometimes late in the season, all the cover's so knocked down, you can't really tuck them anywhere to get them to stay put and so on. That was not the case at all.
No, Dr. Osborne used to raise pheasants here when I was in high school. I'd come up here to hunt with him. So the habitat's all set up for pheasants and upland bird hunting. So it was 200 acres or so that was just prime hunting property.
So before we started, the Pheasants Forever group had some trap shooting practice for the guys. Talk about that for a second, if you would.
Well, I know chukar are a little faster than pheasants, and I'm sure some of these guys are a little rusty, and some I don't think were bird hunters before. They probably are now. But I thought it was a good idea to do some trap shooting so they could get a feel for how to do some wing shooting.
So my favorite thing is in fact, my dog Crash is running around entertaining everybody right now here. He's carrying a piece of bark in his mouth, and wanting everybody to throw it for him. He doesn't have it. There he goes. He doesn't have an off switch. He wants to be going all the time. This is his. He lives for it. I mean,
right.
So whenever you call me, it's like I can't wait to come out. I can't wait to come out and bring the dogs out to let them work here. But talk about how many people got involved. I couldn't make a count, but how many people were helping here?
I think we have at least 40 volunteers. I think was the last count, and I'm sure people came in after we had that count. But yeah, I couldn't have done it without any of these people. If it was just me, this wouldn't have happened. So the volunteers were instrumental to get this done.
Now, it sounded like from what you said, you didn't have to twist a lot of arms to get people to help out for this.
Absolutely not. Yeah, everybody's more than willing to help the veterans, and so yeah, just mention it, and they drop what they're doing and do whatever they can.
So if you were going to say something to a veteran who's, obviously it's a stressful situation that you served in, if you're in a wartime, or even if you weren't, but you're in a stressful situation, what would you say to them? Don't just suck it up, right? I mean, I'm saying it. What would you say?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I'm.
Having an event like this, you're giving them a way to,
Yeah, there's just a way to, you see all the camaraderie between hunters, and, everybody had a great time. It's just a way to blow off some steam, have some fun, and have a good time. So.
Do you think something like this might ever happen again?
I think people would agree to it again. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I sure will. I would love to help if this comes along again. Please let me know, because I would love to help.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for organizing.
Thank you very much for coming.
How'd this whole thing get rolling?
Oh, well, Corey Sly, who was actually was a best friend of my youngest son, brainstormed the whole thing. Wanted to start kind of small. He said, well, how about 500s and 20 birds? And I said, Corey, you can't have a hunt like this that small. So it kept getting bigger and bigger, and everybody jumped in head first, and turned out to be a real nice day.
Well, talk about the connection with the veterans here. I think that's a tremendous thing to do for them.
I myself I'm a veteran of the United States Army Dental Corps. I have 2 sons that served, and I just think this is wonderful when you can do this. I kind of feel that the veterans are the only true citizens.
Well, I'll tell you, the disrespect that I remember from people coming back from Vietnam, and how that's changed. I mean, it's changed in a very positive and a very dramatic way.
Yes, definitely.
But let me ask you about your service. What was your time like?
Oh, I spent 3 years as an Army dentist, Fort Sill, Oklahoma, 1979 to 1982, and got wonderful training, further than any dental school could give you, and I had a good experience.
Well, let me just say thanks for putting on this event today and letting your property be used for this, and thank you for your service.
Oh, you're quite welcome, and thank you.
We appreciate it. Well, welcome to Crawford County Outdoors. Tell us your name.
My name is Steve Anderson.
Well, Steve, welcome to Crawford County Outdoors.
Thank you.
So talk about the hunt today. What was it like?
Well, first of all, I wanted to thank the landowner for letting us come down and hunt during the pheasant hunt, and we had a lot of fun. We were in Group 1. There was, I believe, 6 shooters. Ended up being 8 shooters after that. We had quite a few good dog handlers, and we walked up through and kicked up quite a few birds, shot a few, and we just had a good time all around.
So a thing like this that's done just for veterans, I mean, that makes me feel great to be able to be part of that, to help with that. Let me ask you from the other side of that.
Well, as a veteran, I'm usually one that does a pheasant hunt for kids. So on the other hand, this is a time that I can go out and hunt them with somebody else running them for me for a change. So that was the fun part about it.
Talk for a second, if you don't mind. Talk for a second about your service and what you did while you were in the service.
I was in the service from 1983 till 1990 in the United States Air Force. I ran telecommunications, sent and received messages all over the world. I was stationed in Dayton, Ohio first, and for 3 years, and then I went to Anchorage, Alaska, which was a wonderful state to visit, and anybody gets a chance to go, that's where you want to be. Because their weather really actually is a lot better than ours.
Now, we had a lot of folks out here today. Some served long ago, some served fairly recently. A lot of, I heard, some needling at the beginning. Hey, all the Army guys go in this group and all the Marine guys go in that group and whatever. I mean, that's just good-natured kind of stuff. And get a big picture here about folks who are veterans.
Well, the thing that gets me is mostly, I guess, is the Vietnam vets. For me, that's always been a big thing, because I know that they did not get the credit that they really deserve for serving what they've done, and also the Korean vets. And now on the other end, I'm in the middle, and the guys now, we had a guy in our group that served in Baghdad, so that's on the other spectrum, and I was in the middle, so I'm kind of seeing it from both sides, and I appreciate both of them groups, because they've done as much, if not more, than anybody else.
What you said, I had a cousin who served in Vietnam and came back, and at the airport, people standing at the airport jeering them and like insulting them, and you baby killers. What I just can't. I can't fathom that.
I cannot fathom it myself. But
from my life growing up, I was just a little bit too young for Vietnam. It ended just about the time I was in high school, and for those folks who did serve there, God bless them. I mean, that was a real tough situation, and coming back to abuse from unbelievable.
Like I said, I got out prior to Desert Storm and everything else. That was right after I got out. So I didn't serve in that capacity like some of them have done, and like I said, some of them have given all, and that's what I appreciate the most about the veterans. And nowadays I have so many people that come up and thank you for being a veteran, which 40 years ago they didn't get any. So that's what's kind of the most heartwarming for me.
Well, let me repeat that. Thanks for your service.
Thank you very much.
Well, welcome to Crawford County Outdoors, guys. Can I ask you to give us your names here?
I'm George Clever. This is my son Morgan Clever.
Well, talk about your service, if you don't mind, there.
Morgan is Captain Morgan, and he can tell you about his Army service.
Yeah, I did a couple of stints. I did a year in Baghdad in Iraq, and before that I did a little Desert Storm time. So all Army.
What was that like? I got to ask you.
It was interesting. I was specifically in a combat support hospital at Abu Ghraib, so we took care of the detainees. It was not a fun assignment, but you do what you have to. So
now we had a very interesting weather day today. This morning it was in the 20s and the wind was blowing about 30 miles an hour, and by the time we finished up the sun was shining. It was very nice. The weather over there, from what I understand, was really something.
Yeah, a little different than here. Got really hot. I think I saw 135 once when I was there. So, but yeah, seasonal too. Not like here, obviously in PA, but yeah, it was an interesting place.
You grew up in New Mexico, so the heat wasn't all that bad.
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. Well, let me ask you, Dad, about your service.
Well, I started out as a grunt in the Marine Corps, infantry, and then I had the good luck of working with Fighter Squadron, VMF 441, and then I got retreaded, and after 9/11, I went back to New Mexico State Guard and busted out of there as a LTC, Light Colonel, Lieutenant Colonel.
My personal take is I don't know that our veterans get the credit that they deserve for what they've done, for what they've provided for all of the rest of us who didn't serve. Well, let me just ask you that from your perspective. What's it like? Let me tell you a story that I talked with one of their other guests today. But my cousin came back from Vietnam, and at the airport, I mean, many of his friends died there, and he came back and was getting abused and yelled at and baby killer. I can't believe that kind of stuff went on back then. But let me ask you a big picture.
Yeah. Well, I think it's different for my son in that by that time people began to wake up. We go where the president asks us to go. That's what we take. We swear an oath to the Constitution of the United States, and it begins there. When he says go, we go. And I could say that it was a very different time for me. One thing I do laugh about was I had a hot date in San Francisco, and I wore my dress blues, and the lady said, oh, we're going to see the musical Hair. It was not a place for a Marine to be dressed in a dress blue, I got to tell you that.
Yeah,
Your perspective.
I definitely agree. In my generation, if I could say it that way, total volunteer force. So everyone chose to be there. They understood that, and everyone has a different experience. Everyone joins the military for different reasons, but in the end, everyone is sacrificing, not expecting anything in return. But I have received nothing but good words for my service, and I appreciate it when I hear it. I appreciate things like this.
Absolutely.
This is a wonderful event that they're doing for the veterans here, and it was just a great day.
Can you talk about the day?
Yeah, for sure. This is our second veterans event. We went to one over in Marionville, is that
Right.
in Pennsylvania earlier on in November. And the biggest thing about these is not so much to go out there and shoot a blue birds. It's about getting together with the bros and the women who served with us. And there's just something you share when you're in that group together that often doesn't even get said, but you know you're on the same page. That's a nice thing. I do want to say that he has two brothers that served. One is retired Navy electronics crew chief on P3. He did 60 missions during Desert Storm.
Wow.
And his youngest brother now, the baby, is unfortunately another Marine. So we have Army, Navy, and Marines. And of course, my wife she's a disabled Army, 30% disabled, and she outranks all of us.
Yes.
Well, talk about the day. What was it like?
So you're right, it started off chilly and windy. We were all bundled up, not really knowing what to expect because you know, Corey's putting this together with all the help this year for the first time. It's my understanding. But when that first pheasant flew in the air, everything kind of just, you know, went away, and we all got, you know, warm instantly. Some of us had better luck at knocking down the birds, some of us not so much, but in the end I think we all managed to knock down a few and just have a great time.
So now when you have a 16 gauge, it's harder to find those shells, right? So you want to be real cautious and not waste those shells, right?
It can be, yeah, exactly. You don't want to, you want to make them count. So I think we ended the day with you had one left in your pocket, yes, and I had two. So,
hey, that's the way you like to have it go. You don't want to carry lots of extra ones all the weight around. You're carrying those birds back. You don't want to be carrying all the extra shells, right?
Exactly. Yeah, my back is feeling it from the weight of the birds, and but yeah, it was a great time.
There's more on the line too in this hunt too. You know, I'm at 82. I'm lucky I can walk, let alone throw that shotgun to the shoulder. And so I always have to show that I'm still able to shoot and hit. And especially when I got the young son with me there. So, it was a nice surprise that we first of all saw pheasants.
Yeah.
We were expecting just chukars.
Yeah.
And so it was nice and be able to knock a couple of pheasants out of the sky and kind of builds my ego back up again. Maybe I got another 10 years I can do this.
So right off the bat, it seemed like all the pheasants flew at the beginning, and I don't think we saw any chukars until later on. But then at the end, it was all chukars. It seemed like going.
Yeah,
there.
They were holding tight at first, and just we must have walked over a few, but yeah, then they kind of warmed up, I think, and they were flying too. So
well, the dogs all get real excited at the beginning. They're just dying to get out there, and they probably run past. I'm assuming they run past them ones because those chukars were tucked in pretty tight in some cases there.
Yeah.
So
and well, you mentioned the dogs. I can't say enough for how appreciative I am for all the dog handlers, and coming out here just makes the hunt so much better. You can see the joy that the dogs have hunting, and you know, we have the same look. So yeah, I really appreciate that too.
And once again, it's called hunting, but it's not called killing. And half of the pleasure you get is watching a dog go into point on a bird. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing. It's an instinct. I don't know why or how they do it, but it's just beautiful to see.
I can tell you with my dog Crash, he lives for this. If I can't get him out pretty frequently, he's just this is what he's all about.
Yeah, you could tell that he had a great time. He kicked up a few birds for us, and yeah, and he did a good job at it too. So kudos to his handler for kind of keeping them in range and all that. That's important. So.
If you knock a feather or two off, Crash is going to bring that back. That's his reward. He loves to bring that bird back to you, and he likes to take his time and kind of show off as he's coming back. I know you noticed that a couple times, right?
He kind of showed the birds to everyone before.
He wants to kind of he wants to brag, and say, hey, look what I got.
Well, I dropped one right in the middle of the road, and I was going over the fence to get it.
Oh yeah.
Before I did it, the dog had it, brought it back.
Yeah, he was not waiting around.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let me just say thanks, you guys. Thanks for your service. Thanks for being here today, and appreciate you joining us here on Crawford County Outdoors.
Great. Thank you.
Sometime we hope to bring the other two clevers with us.
Wonderful. I would love that. I would love that.
Thank you for your help.
Yeah, thanks.
Great. Well, tell us your name here.
My name's Lenny Swagger.
Well, Lenny, tell us about your service.
Well, I spent a year in Vietnam in 1970 to 71, August to August, and I was infantry in the Central Highlands by On-K, out of On-K with the 4th Division.
So I have some family members who served in Vietnam, and we talked with some of the other guys here today about the lack of respect that our veterans got coming back from that. And that just drives me nuts. I mean, even still today, that drives me nuts. I got to ask you from your perspective, what was that like?
It was very hard. Friends that I had in high school just wouldn't even talk to me. I mean, good friends, football guys I played football with, baseball with, sports and athletes, always in sports. And yeah, that happened. But you know, there's the good to come out of that. Is what the respect that some of the soldiers coming back now are getting. I think that's what we realized. The country's realized what a mistake that was, and I forgive them for that. I'll never forget. But I will forgive.
I agree with you. I think there's been a dramatic change ever since then, and I think maybe that was a soul cleansing situation. It's like, what the heck what were people thinking? I mean, you know, were you there? Well, my cousin came back and baby killer, you rotten, you know, so and so at the airport. People waiting for him off the plane at the airport.
3 years ago, I got called a baby killer by an individual.
Where does that come from?
Yeah, exactly. And he was an older gentleman that served in the service. And I'm like, well, I said I was in Vietnam. Well, he didn't go. He was mad because he didn't go to Vietnam, or he's not respected the same as a Vietnam vet. I said, I respect you, you know, but I don't need to hear that from you ever again. Yeah, that's what I told him.
Well, let's shift gears here. How was the event today? What was it like?
The event today was amazing. You know, I came here with some average expectations, thinking, okay, I want my dog to be able to hunt. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to make a whole day of it because I got a back and a hip issue. But my dog got 8 points. I killed 3 or 4 birds. I don't know. One of them was hit twice.
I mean, we got several of those on camera. So
yeah, right.
Doing a great job.
He did a great job, and I love that dog, and he deserved this as much as I did. And if you have a dog, you do this for your dog. You know, you don't do it to kill pheasants. I mean, that's...
Whenever people get together and they want to have a veterans event or whatever, that's got to be a positive thing to you. That's got to mean something to you.
Truthfully, I've been counseled by the vet center in Erie. I live in Ashtabula, Ohio, but they cover us in Erie. And the vet center, counseling for 8 years I've had. Once every 2 weeks, I got a counselor, and they're going to come talk to me about any problems I'm having. And the suicide rate's getting so high for veterans from Vietnam. I've lost 2 good friends over that, and I'm not leaving that on a negative note. But on the positive side is the vet center's out there really trying to stop that, and other veterans groups. And to have an event like this, I've not been out of my house really to do anything like this in 3 years. So this got me because of my dog, and it got me here, and the facility's wonderful. The people have been great. Everybody that was involved. I had to come out of the field. They called a guy to come out and pick me up, so I didn't have to walk back in. And yeah, I mean, they did everything they could to make things better for us, and I appreciate it. I really do. I'll never forget it.
I know my daughter, I'm very proud of her. She works at the VA Center in Michigan, but she works with PTSD folks, and she's a pharmacist, and she's trained as a clinical pharmacist, so she can help them if they need medications and all that kind of stuff. And extremely proud of her work, but that's a big deal. I mean, the stress and the kind of things that you deal with after coming back from what you've been through, I don't know that the rest of us have any clue about that.
Yeah, nobody wants to talk about it. So that's why we talk to vet center therapists. You know, we talk to individual. Most of the guys you'll find, some of them will go to group therapies, but for the most part, individual therapy is. I don't want to complain. I don't want to. I don't want to do any of that. I just need somebody to talk to once in a while.
Sure.
And that's true.
Well, speaking of therapy, this event had to be kind of therapeutic today, and it had to be fun.
Very much. Yeah, I got to meet some other veterans, you know, and it was nice to see some of the guys that also served in Vietnam, and then some guys that didn't, that come over from you know, just across the pond, just getting home, or been out of the service 6 months or so, and are doing this event, and God bless them. I mean, they need to continue doing these things. You know, that'd be wonderful.
Well, I've been looking forward to doing this for a long. When I first heard about this a while back, I couldn't wait to come out today. I almost couldn't sleep last night. I was so excited to come out today and do this. And I was hoping you guys are feeling the same way.
Yeah, exactly. That's I've been since I signed called Corey. Which shouldn't leave him out for everything he's done. But, ever since I called Corey and he said, yeah, I'll put you on the list, I said, I was just so excited. He said, well, you're the first one that called. So it was in my mind to be here from day one, and I told everybody that I'm going pheasant hunting.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It was great. And I appreciate everything that you've done today, taking pictures and everything, and this is nice. I mean, everything is great.
Well, let me just say, speaking for the rest of my country mates here, thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Well, I want to reiterate something that I said before with several of our veterans. We certainly have great appreciation for all the service of everyone who's ever served our country to help keep us free and to help keep us safe. So thank you to the veterans for everything that they've done for us. Well, as always, Chef Lisa's got something working here for us today. So stay tuned. I'm looking forward to our recipe. Here, hello, rooster, rooster. There we go. Ho ho! That almost went in your pouch. Well, joining us now, Chef Lisa Beck. So Lisa, I had a blast working with these veterans. It was absolutely awesome. And I want to make one thing clear. This all the birds that we took that day, right, they took home. This one was in my freezer.
That's right. That's right.
So they took them all home. So just so that's clear. But how can we have a hunt with birds and then not have Lisa involved and cook up something?
Exactly. So you've got to have me here to take care of this. Yeah, I mean, if you've got birds in your freezer, we've got to cook them.
Too, at an event like that, the conversation is, well, how do what recipes, what cook, so I'm going over things that you've made over the years, and so it's like, I said, watch the show, we'll be cooking something on the show.
Right. Yeah, that's right, and this is easy. As I like to say that, these are usually easy recipes, so again, take that pheasant out of the freezer if you've already taken care of it, and we're going to give you a recipe to use. Okay? We're ready?
So that one was boned.
That was, yes. You deboned that and made it into the little tiny pieces.
Little cubes, yeah.
And so we're going to make a pheasant soup. If you added meatballs to this, it could almost be like a wedding soup with pheasant, but we're not going to add meatballs today. And of course, this recipe is courtesy of your wife, Michelle, because she's quite the researcher on all this kind of stuff. She really
developer,
is.
Yes,
she is, and she's a great cook. So I think our audience will like this. So what we have going is we have a pot that's heating up. We've got some olive oil in the bottom, and we're going to start off by sautéing the pheasant. And we're going to add some salt and pepper, about a quarter of a teaspoon or half a teaspoon of salt, quarter of a teaspoon of pepper, and about a teaspoon of basil. Okay, so we'll get that started. And it's going to sizzle.
Can I use this?
So, yes, please do. Move that around in there, Dwayne, and we'll get it seasoned up. It's going to start smelling wonderful. So we have about a pound of deboned pheasant cut up, sauteing in olive oil, and we're adding our spices. A little more salt.
Sometimes it seems like that deboning process is the most time consuming, even of the hunting and everything else. It seems like that
a little tedious at times.
But that's okay. That's okay, because it's really
the end result.
It's really helpful for these recipes.
Yes. Yes. So we're going to get that going, and once that starts to brown, what we're going to add is a cup of, it's about a medium onion, cut up, chopped, about a cup of carrots, and a cup of celery, and I even sliced up the leaves and everything.
The green part of the celery?
Everything.
So it's the whole celery.
The whole celery and nothing but the celery. Okay. So that's looking great. Keep that going.
I mean, we're talking like 5 minutes or whatever to get this brown to the point where it can,
Yep. Just get it brown because we're still going to cook it when we add these in there.
Okay.
And this is pretty simple too because you're using some chicken stock, or already. You can use bone-in broth, which I use a lot of when I'm using the beef. But this is the chicken stock, about 1.5 cartons we're going to add to it, and you can add any pasta that you want. We're going to do the acine de pepe. Yes,
that's like the wedding soup.
It is like the wedding soup, but if you had orzo or you had rice, you could
like those little pearl
kind
of things.
Teeny tiny, and you always find them in wedding soup. So you could do any of the small pastas. You could do noodles. It wouldn't really matter. And I love to say that when we do these recipes, they're versatile. You can do this with chicken. It wouldn't matter. So, but we have pheasant, so that's what we're using. And you're doing a great job there. Smells good already.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Okay. All right, you about ready?
I'd say that's like halfway, kind of like
Yeah.
halfway brown.
Yep, it's
And
getting.
it's time for the onions and the other things.
I would give it another little
Little bit
mix
on-
over
on
there
this side.
on that side.
Did I move it too far off the burner? Maybe?
Center it on there.
Get it back in the middle.
And Dwayne, I'm gonna break this news to you. You get to use the can opener today.
Oh, good.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, the
Oh, it's been a
camo.
while.
The camo.
It's been a while, yeah.
Right-handed
Wow,
can
that's
opener.
that's exciting.
That's exciting. Okay, while you're doing that, I'm gonna add some onion. Let that go in. And some carrots. A lot of people don't saute their vegetables before they make their soup. I do that. So when I got this recipe and Michelle said that's what she did, I said, you know what, I do that too. I like to soften them up. They don't have to be fully cooked, but it's nice to soften them up, especially if you're doing this and you're going to eat soon. Your family's hungry and you don't have a ton of time. Get them going before you actually add the liquid.
Sometimes you think of you know, maybe your game recipes is it's going to take all day and it's going to take hours and whatever. And this is one that can go pretty fast. And
It
so
can.
This can even be the same day, you know,
Right.
if you're,
Right. And for time, you know, you can let this sit on the stove and simmer for, you know, a while if you need it to be. But if not, you could have it ready in about an hour. It wouldn't be a problem to do that. You'd be able to do that. Okay, maybe we want to put the lid on it, let
that sizzle a little
let that
bit.
sizzle a little bit, and we'll talk about some of the other things that we have. I am going to add spinach to it because I love spinach in my soup, and it's also super healthy. So we're going to throw a handful of spinach in there, but what we'll do is we'll let that cook a little bit. Once it's ready, we're going to add a can of diced tomatoes, and this is the tomatoes that have the seasoning, the basil, garlic, and oregano. So we're going to get a little bit more seasoning in there. And it says to add about a can of water, but I already put almost about 2 cups of water in here. So we'll add that. We're going to add 1 whole carton of chicken stock and then a half of another. And then we're going to add our little
Cine de pepe.
Cine de pepe, cute little teeny tiny pearls. And let that go, and that's it. That's all we need to do.
Not complicated.
Not a complicated recipe. Like you said, probably the most complicated thing you've had to do was debone the pheasant.
We've done that before,
Right.
and everybody saw that, and it's like you just kind of little by little go and take the the meat
We've
off
done
the
it
bones
right on
and-
the show.
Yep,
We've done it on the
yep.
show. So, all right. So, are we ready to maybe give it a good smush or swoosh there? Oh yeah. See, you put that lid on it, and it really
It does.
gets
A
it
little bit
going.
of, just a little bit of pink left there in
Yeah.
a couple spots.
It's looking good. Oh, that smell.
Mm-hmm.
My family will come home and what's going on down there?
Don't tell them. Don't tell
I'll
them.
be like, what are you?
You know what? They'll figure it out.
I think
They'll
they
figure it
will.
out.
I think they will when there's some left over in the fridge. Okay, a couple more minutes and then we're going to be ready to add our...
I remember when we did the crock pot pheasant, and that wasn't soup, that was more like stew.
It was more of a stew. That's a delicious recipe.
And that was, we were doing that just interestingly enough during deer season, and you had family members here from.
We
and
did,
That
at a
lasted
time.
about like, what, 10 seconds or whatever?
It was
and
gone.
It was gone.
It
Yeah.
was gone. And we made 2 batches. It was, they devoured that, and you're right, it was under 5 minutes. We had family out of town. It was the first week of hunting season, and you gotta feed the hunters. We've done a show on that too. So, yeah, they loved that. That was a really good recipe as well. So I'm glad to hear that the veterans hunt went really well.
I've been wanting to do that for the whole time we've had Crawford County Outdoors. We're wanting to do something to honor our veterans, and they actually had more volunteers than they had work for them to
Right.
do. They ended up having to turn some volunteers away who wanted to come and help.
Right.
And I'm not surprised. This is Crawford County. People are, they want to help. They want
That's
to help
right.
others. The veterans out there, I think they all had a blast.
That's
It
wonderful.
was super to see the guys out there, and the joy that comes along with working with the dogs, and
Yeah.
and everybody's just tickled to death when they pick up that bird,
Right.
and all that. So
Always great to give back. Always great to give back. It's a good group of people. So nice to hear that. Nice to hear. Shall we check? Still looking a
One
little.
little pink spot.
Yeah, it needs a
over here.
little more work in there. It's almost. Wow.
That's the one thing that our viewers, it's great to have cable, but they don't get the smell. Yeah.
I know.
We just have to tell them.
That's
Just
right.
have to tell 'em.
And if they choose to make this recipe,
They
you
can
too.
find, they can find that.
You
yes.
too will have that wonderful, delicious smell in your house.
Let me see if we can get a close up of what's going on.
That's what it looks like. We're just trying to make sure that, all the meat is not, is cooked through enough. And that the vegetables are tender. They don't have to be overly cooked.
And all those pieces are like maybe the size of your little fingertip.
They're tiny,
At the biggest, even
Right.
the biggest pieces. When you take that breast off, it comes off in a nice big piece, and it's not too hard to quarter that up. And then all the rest of the pieces come off in little bitty pieces like that. So.
Right. I have a feeling in the next couple of days there's going to be some households making this.
Good.
Simple recipe. Delicious. Okay. Right. Just need to make sure that pink's gone.
I see one pink piece. Let's push that one to the bottom
Yep.
so it can get.
The little one over there.
Oh, I see.
It's different than doing it on the stove. When you use a little hot plate, it takes a little bit longer to do it. So our folks at home, they could do this faster on their
Sure.
stovetop for sure. But these come in handy. You notice the dog sticks around. Not a carnivore or anything.
That happens in my house too. I wonder why that is.
I wonder. I don't know.
Pheasant wedding soup. Do we have an official name for this
I
one
don't
yet?
know.
Okay. We might have
Michelle's
to work on
pheasant
that.
soup.
I like the pheasant wedding soup, but I guess we could even do something like venison meatballs or whatever. And throw them in there.
You know what? That would be a great addition. And then
Yeah.
it would be your typical
Official like
official. I mean,
hunting season pheasant,
Yeah.
pheasant / venison wedding soup.
it's a little more hearty. We are adding the tomatoes, which is a little different. But no two wedding soups are exactly alike, right?
Sure.
And not very many of them are special like this with pheasant.
I'm not seeing any pink anymore here.
You think we're good to go?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Dwayne, I'm gonna.
I've been
You can
so
do the
looking forward
honors.
to this.
I'm sure you are.
Okay.
So we'll let you do that, and then we'll get moving on the rest of the soup.
Right-handed.
It's right-handed. Yes, you're doing a great job.
It does
with
have a
that.
pink camo.
I believe you gave me that as a gift.
Now, do we need to drain those?
Nope, we're adding the whole thing.
The whole thing goes right in?
Yep, it's got some spices in there, as we said before. So great. So we're going to add the rest of our liquid. So we added a can of the seasoned diced tomatoes. We're going to add almost 2 cups of water and a carton and a half of chicken stock. You can start mixing that, Dwayne. It's going to take a while to heat up. We're going to also throw in a couple handfuls of spinach and then throw our pasta in. And then what we'll do is you typically let it simmer for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then it's ready. So we'll give it some time to cook, and then we'll come back and we will have some great soup to try. Whoops. I'm going to eyeball about a half. Maybe a little bit more.
I know we've got some aging parents that come around from time to time to my house, so sometimes we'll pick the low sodium stock for
Yep.
things. And there's, it seems like there's a bunch of choices. Whenever I went to the grocery store the last time, so there's about 4 or 5 different ones to pick from.
There are. And you know, you can find them no MSG and all right. So that spinach will cook down rather quickly. This is about a cup of Vicinity de Pepe. So we'll put that in there. We've got it on high. We'll give it a couple mixes. We'll put the lid on it. We'll let it go for a little while, and then we'll come back, and it will be our favorite time. Our favorite time.
There we go. Lisa, you know, I smell something pretty good here. What's going on?
I think our recipe is complete.
Ah, can I open that?
Sure.
Okay.
Be careful.
It's like Christmas, right?
Be careful. The steam.
Wow.
Yeah. It's ready, Dwayne.
I don't know why this is always my favorite part of the show.
I don't know. Good question. It's always mine as well. Look at that.
See
Look at that.
some tomatoes in there, and those carrots and celery and some spinach.
I'll give you this one. Oh, I say it every time. Careful.
It's gonna be hot.
It's gonna be hot. Mmm, that spinach, yum. It smells fantastic. A little Parmesan cheese on this would be great.
Oh yeah.
We could do that as well. How is it?
Oh, Lisa, that's awesome.
Oh yeah. That's really good. Thank you, Michelle. Very good recipe.
I'm gonna come back to that in a minute, but Lisa, thanks for putting this together. This was
welcome.
great.
You're welcome.
Thanks to our veterans for everything they've done for us too. I think I said before, but that was one of my favorite things I've ever done here for
That's
our Crawford
great.
County Outdoor Series. Thanks to the volunteers who all put that Veterans Day together. So here's a recipe that you could try out,
It's really good.
and lots of others we talked about that day. And I told them tune in, look us up
That's
on
right.
YouTube and
That's
all that kind
right.
of stuff. So
We're here for you.
also thanks to the folks at home for joining us on Crawford County Outdoors, and we'll talk to you next time.